All right, and we are lights out in the Netherlands. Furby going to lead him down to turn one. You see him fanning out. Fairly clean through there. One car off the pace back there. They come through and they're going to start going single file. A little bit of tire smoke. And there is a yellow there. Dub Z and Pogs both off track. Oh, a little bit of contact. That's going to be Duck into the wall, breaking a wing. Oh boy, a lot of action there here in the opening stage. Up front we still have Furby setting the pace as everybody behind him going single file, nose to tail, just trying to settle into this race. There we go. Down here you see Dan losing a little bit of time there. Falling back. Dan, a guy who started up there well into the top 10. All the way down here in the 15th position now. We've got Duck and Danny Rick both coming down pit road here. Fixing their front wings. Everybody got through turn one pretty clean, but as soon as they got to some of the faster parts of the track, that's when you started seeing some contact happen. As those three cars, Dub Z, Danny Rick, and Duck, all coming in, making repairs, getting new tires. All right. Now it's time to hop on board. We're through the opening laps. Our leader Furby going to take us through. Hop back with Brembo. Brembo looking to make a move. Kind of like we said, front straightaway was going to be the way to go. He's going to take a look. Not going to be able to do anything with it this time around. Oh, and back. Danny Rick. Bad start, just turning worse. Right there we see him go around. It's a shame. I really wanted to see what was going to happen with Danny Rick on those mediums. Wanted to see how that strategy was going to play out. So now everybody else in the front. Everybody else on the same tire compound. I believe everybody's going to be following pretty much the same tire strategy, but we'll see. Everybody pretty evenly spaced out. Snover, a guy who really struggled through the qualifying session. See him up quite a few spots. So there's an overtake back here with Daddy, and he's got pressure from behind with Sergel. Let's hop on board with Sergel, see how if he's able to set this pass up and make it work. Through the banking, he's got the DRS, and he's going to be drafting up here on Daddy. Let's take a look. Not going to be able to do anything this time around. So now he's just, if you're Sergel, you're just looking to keep that pressure on that guy in front of you all through the track. Hope he makes a mistake, and just make sure that you capitalize on it. As Daddy's actually appearing to pull away from just a little bit, as he's in pursuit of the guy in front of him in Sauce Boss. Only a half second behind him. Up front, Furby continues to set the pace. The gap is closing though. Let's go up here. Top three, all within about a second of each other. Shady only half a second behind. Coming to line, Furby's actually going to space it out just a little bit. Back here with Snover. Snover looking to make a move on Squish. Gonna look to the outside, both of them on the mediums. Gonna make that pass look pretty easy. A track that's very difficult to pass. Snover making that move around the outside. Back up front, Dave also closing the gap here on Furby and Shady. We're going to watch this battle from his point of view. Meanwhile, back in the pack, Pog's appearing to have some issues there going into Sector 2. Gets it back going. And we stay going. Look, Shady gonna have a little bit of a run. Looking to break the draft from behind. Gets that gap all the way down to 0.3 of a second. Gonna try to stay as close to Furby as he can. Going through the banking. Back up on track. We're gonna see these faster corners. A little bit of curbing. Coming down through to this right-hander, followed by this sweeping left. Alright, that's going to lead these guys down to the chicane. Now, can Shady close the gap and keep it close enough to make something of it in these final two right-handers? Oh, and we're going to have a safety car. As we do see it, I believe that's going to be Duck. Or actually, it's going to be Time, his teammate. Time DNFing. You see his car parked out there in Sector 2. His night's going to be over early. The safety car is out here, lap 7 of 36. And all these guys up front taking advantage of this safety car. In here getting some new tires. Shady on hards. We have everybody else on. Squish and Snover both staying out on the mediums. I believe they're just going to try to stay true to their tire strategies. Furby going to drop down to the 3rd spot on mediums. Shady on hards. Shady on hards. So that's going to be not exactly sure how far he's going to be able to go on this. I can't imagine he'd be able to go the distance. That's a lot of laps to go. Almost 30. Dave back here on softs. 3 different tire compounds here, all in the top 5. This is the stuff you love to see. So under this safety car, everybody gonna bunch back up. Could be a great opportunity for somebody down here like Danny Rick, who didn't get off to the start that he wanted. Last week's winner, having a lot of momentum, had a great qualifying session, and just not off to the start that he wanted. He's gonna have an opportunity to redeem himself now, make up some of these positions, get himself back into this race. Coming back across the front straightaway, you see Snover into the pit lane, and Squish staying out. Gonna stay on these mediums. Snover work already completed. Gonna be on the medium tire compound. Man, I don't really understand waiting 1 lap to pit there. Definitely costing him a few positions. quite understand that strategy call, but we'll see how it works out. So with Squish not pitting either of those first 2 times by the pit lane, I don't imagine he would be coming down pit road, and nonetheless would acquire the race lead when they go back to green. So he's going to be out there on those older tires. He's going to have the guys behind him, and Furby and Shady and Dave, all guys that have shown some speed here in the opening laps. But Furby, Shady, and Dave, top 3 in the standings, and they're all on different tires. All mixing it up. Sauce Boss back here in 5th. Innick sitting in the 6th position. Adler in 7th. Brembo in 8th. Daddy in 9th. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Brownito. Those are all your points paying positions. And they're coming up. Back up to the green flag, back up to speed. We are back underway. Meanwhile, oh man, more problems here for Danny Rick back in the field. More damage with Daddy. They're going to have to come back and get some work done to their car. So we did see Dave get around Shady in the opening stage of that green flag restart. Shady with a little bit of pressure from behind with Sauce Boss. Maybe not liking these hard tires here to start. Trying to get them up to temp. Not quite gripping the way that he likes. He's just trying to hang on right now until he can get some heat into these tires. As these top 3 are all nose to tail. We know Furby and Dave, both guys with quite a bit of speed. Squish is a guy that we haven't seen up here in this position. Furby's making a look. Oh, gonna have to fall back in the line. Get some draft. Gonna look to the outside, try to outbrake him. Not gonna be able to make it happen this time. Really being held up by Squish. Dave right behind, ready to pounce. Oh, meanwhile, Dave looking underneath Furby. A little bit of contact. Not the first time we've seen these guys get into one another. So that's going to allow Squish to gap it just a little bit. Back here we see an incident. We've got Brembo going around, as well as Sergel. Sergel coming down the pit lane, getting some work done to his car. An incident within the top 10. See Brembo losing a lot of time. Furby making a move for the lead into the chicane. Quite a bit of contact there. Oh, and they're still beating off one another. Yikes. All right, and that moves Furby up to the first spot. Back into control of this race. Squish losing multiple positions there. You see Shady going to the inside, getting around Squish. There was a lot of contact through there. It's one thing, these F1 cars they're not really made for the beating and banging of that door-to-door action, but they're all through there. We'll see what kind of damage that these guys have and what it's going to do to their cars. Further back in the pack, Danny Rick setting down the fastest lap of the race so far. Dave getting on the... You saw him getting onto the curbing with that left front tire. Car wasn't really too happy with it. You saw a little bit of a wiggle. Was able to keep it straight though. Coming through the chicane as he continues his pursuit for that top spot with Furby. Don't know if we can call it quite yet, but do we have a rivalry brewing? We'll see. Each of these guys here in the top 10 pretty evenly spaced out. We do see an overtake. Snover getting around Dub Z. We are going to have another incident back further in the pack. Going through sector 1. It's where we've seen most of our incidents so far. Alright, let's hop on board with Adler as he's currently pressuring Sauce Boss in the 5th spot. Sauce Boss has it. Adler wants it. They come through the chicane. Adler looking to get a runoff. Actually gets a pretty good runoff of that chicane. Fairly close to Sauce Boss. Tries to power it down. Gets up on the curbing. Car didn't like that. You saw it get a little bit out of shape. Loses that precious time to Sauce Boss, and now he's going to have to regroup, try to close the gap back up, make another run at it next time by. Meanwhile, up front, Dave has closed the gap to Furby. So it's one thing to get there, it's another thing to get around. And if Dave does get his position, it'll be interesting to see what kind of fight that Furby puts up. These guys both running extremely hard right now. Furby knows how important it is for him to take advantage of these race wins, to gain those points on Dave. Dave trying to seal it and put it away. Yellow flag back out in sector 1. That's actually going to be Sergel who gets it back going. Further in the pack, Dave going to get a little bit of a run here. Not going to be able to do anything with it, but it's going to close the gap. Let's see if he can keep that gap closed. And we have a virtual safety car out. That's going to be an incident. Looks like Enik has DNF'd as well. Dan coming down to the pit lane. Gonna get some service done on his Haas car. Go from an old set of mediums to a new set. Danny Rick also gonna bring it down pit road. I believe this is his 4th, maybe his 5th trip down. I wonder how many sets of tires this guy has. Got a drive-through penalty for Snover for speeding under the virtual safety car. More penalties being handed out. Got a drive-through handed to Brownito, and another drive-through set to Sergel. I can imagine those are all for speeding under the virtual safety car as well. And we are back under green. And Dave has actually gotten around Furby. Furby gonna have a run at Dave. Looks to the inside, going into sector 1. First turn and makes it look easy. Was able to slingshot himself around Dave, puts himself back into that first spot. Dave gonna have to go back to work now. Meanwhile, Sauce Boss getting around Squish and put himself into the 4th position. Squish now with some pressure from behind with Adler. You know, if you're somebody like Squish earlier, you know, you got to try something. You got to roll the dice. You're a guy that you know, you haven't had a lot of luck. You know, a lot of things go your way. Try to make something happen. You can't keep doing the same thing that the leader's doing, otherwise you're just going to keep getting the same result. So he was trying to roll the dice, see what would happen. Didn't really pay off that well for him, but you know, it's worth a try. He is running up a little bit higher than he was So who knows? Maybe it's a gamble that will still pay off. See Sauce Boss with a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings on corner cutting. Meanwhile, we have Snover coming down the pit lane. And that's going to be for his drive-through. And that drive-through's got to be done under, I believe it's got to be done under green flag conditions. He comes back out on track. Going to merge back up in front of Brownito. Still going to be in a points-paying position. And that's going to eliminate his penalty. See Sauce Boss dipping those left tires into the dirt just a little bit. Lose a little bit of time. Meanwhile, Dave up here still putting the pressure on Furby. He was able to get around Furby. And then we saw him lose that position back going down the front straightaway. Tries to keep that gap as close as possible. They come out of the final corner down the straightaway. Gonna have his DRS. Gonna have the draft as well. Not able to do a whole lot. And Snover, the guy who we just saw come down pit road to serve that drive-through penalty, gets a 3-second penalty. And imagine for multiple warnings on corner cutting. Taking one mistake and just letting it snowball into multiple. So we see more cars heading down the pit lane. Sauce Boss, Squish, all getting new tires. These guys both on hards. You can imagine that they're probably looking to go the distance here now. Meanwhile, back up front, Dave still applying the pressure to Furby. That's all you can do really with this track, is just let that guy in front of you know that you're there. Put the pressure on them to make the mistake. Like, hey bud, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. You've got to be perfect. So that gap stays pretty much the same there. So we're going to take you through the rest of the top 10 here while everybody's pretty spaced out. We've got Shady running in third on the hards. Got Adler back here in fourth. Not really not able to see that guy in front of him. But also got a pretty good cushion to the guy behind. Dub Z running in fifth. Able to move himself up after those other cars came down the pit lane. Pogs, guy who also with some struggles during the qualifying session, sitting in the 6th spot. Snover in 7th. Does have that 3-second penalty. See Sauce Boss actually off the track into the gravel pit. Losing a lot of time waiting for that opportunity to get back out on track. And as he does, he's going to drag a lot of that gravel and dirt with him. Oh man. It's you have an incident like that happen where you get into the gravel pit, your tires you're dirty, they just don't grip. You're already frustrated about losing control of the car. And he takes one mistake and it just snowballs into just a disastrous set of events. So we see him lose control of the car, get into the wall, lose his wing, and now his car is just almost impossible to drive without that front wing. He's going to have to bring it down pit road to get some repairs done. This late into the race, got to be hard to overcome that mistake. Losing more and more precious time. But up front, we still have Dave, about a half second behind Furby. We're going to continue taking you back through the top 10. So Brownito there in 7th. We have Squish in 8th now. Dan in ninth. And the final point spot right now is to Adler, as he's got about a second and a half back to Duck. Duck behind him, you see on the hards as well. Mediums here for Adler. With all these different tire strategies, it'll be interesting to see what everybody's planning on doing the rest of the way. See Dubsy making his way down pit road for the mediums. And that looks to be his final scheduled stop of the day. Ooh, trying to get his tires warmed back up. Still pretty slick. So I'm almost lose control of it. Try to get some heat back into these tires, get it back going. Meanwhile, Dan is starting to reel in Squish just a little bit. And up front, we see Dave coming onto the pit lane. Going to get the service done to his car. Going to put him on the mediums. And that's going to be it for him coming down pit road for the day. So he's going to lose one spot in that transaction. Going to move Shady up to P2. Shady just under 5 seconds away from Furby on these hard tires. I believe if you're Shady, I think you're just trying to take care of these tires and try to see if you can't go the distance. Maybe win this race on strategy. See how it plays out. Furby up front, just setting the pace on these mediums. I imagine Furby's got to make one more trip down pit road. Don't think he's going to be able to go the distance on these mediums, but we'll see if he can prove me wrong. Back here, we're going to hop back on board with Dan, as he's closed that gap to Squish. Squish in front of him on the hards. Dan on the mediums. So the difference between these two tires is you see he's got a run. He's got DRS going down this front straightaway. Going to look to the left of Squish. Going to try to outbrake him. Hard on the brakes. Goes for the crossover. As they come through, this is a tricky part of the track to go too wide. Into the banking. Trying to get that run up off. And he makes it work. What a move. What a move. Move Dan up to the 6th spot. You go, Dan. Man, I can't emphasize how difficult it is to go through that part of the track too wide. Both of those guys able to make it happen. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of give and take. If both of those guys are just going in there without any sort of consideration for the other, I don't think that... Oh, and Dan loses control, and that's going to be the end of his race. Man, what a heartbreak. The guy was just putting together a very solid race. And it's just like that. I can't tell you how difficult it is to get through this track, even just by yourself. You saw him kind of miss the corner going in. Kind of set him off a little bit, so when he came off the exit, just at a little bit of a different angle than what he's used to. And when he went to get back on the gas, sent the car around and just overcorrected and got into the wall. So a heartbreak there for Dan. He was having a good run. Just saw him make that pass. Danny Rick going to come back down. Gets a speeding penalty. Oh man, is actually is now out of the race. So we are under the virtual safety car. It's a very short virtual safety car there, and we're back back going under green flag conditions. For speeding under the virtual safety car, we do see a drive-through penalty that's going to have to be done by Squish. So you see it yellow in sector 1 for our car coming back up on the track from the pit road. Squish going through, making his drive-through penalty. Alright, gonna move him down here to the 7th spot. Right in front of Brownito. So that's gonna move Adler up to 6th, Snover up to 5th with that 3-second penalty. Not going to mean a whole lot. The guy behind him and Adler 10 seconds back. Pogs running 4th now. Dave still in 3rd. Only 8 seconds behind Shady. Shady running in 2nd. Just over 5 seconds back from the leader, Furby. Furby still setting the pace. We're going to be coming up on 10 laps to go. We already see 5 cars out of the race in this 18-car field. So the top 10 guys all will receive points towards the standings. Realistically, I think we're looking at 11 guys at the moment, all with a shot to bring home some points. Dub Z is actually going to fall out of that final point spot as Brembo's going to get around, and Brembo with an early race incident. Very impressive drive so far to get himself back up into a points paying spot. We're going to be back on here with Brownito. Brownito applying some pressure here to Squish. Squish we saw come down pit road to serve that drive-through penalty. Brownito had a little bit of a run going into the chicane, thinks better of it, falls back in line. He's going to try to get as close to him as he can. Try to take advantage of that passing zone. You see Snover coming down the pit lane to get some work done. Brownito has a run at him. Looking to the outside, they pull even. Going into turn 1, hard on the brakes. Still side by side. Oh, and Squish is just barely going to squeeze him off. Defends that position. Brownito going to try to regroup and have another go at it. Ooh, a little squirrely going through there. It's amazing the level of talent in this field. I think a lot of your average drivers on this track just would have such a hard time with the lack of traction going through some of those faster turns. You saw Brownito there going through, almost losing control. You see him fighting the wheel left and right. Able to keep it straight though. Best way to describe it when you're going through there and you're about to lose control of the car is basically like driving on ice. Brownito gonna get a run here, gonna have the draft and DRS. Not to make a pass, but just to get himself closer. Oh, gets up on the curbing. The curbing's very slick. Almost loses control of it. Keeps it going. So as I was saying earlier, you know, he got the DRS and he got the draft. It wasn't to make an overtake right there. He was too far back for that, but he's just trying to set himself up for this next lap. Trying to get as close as he can so that once he does get to a passing zone, he can take advantage of it. So we're staying on board here with Brownito because this is going to be the closest battle we have within the top 10. We do see Brembo creeping up on Duck back there. Brembo technically has the position because Duck does have that 3-second penalty. So you may just see Duck let Brembo have the spot. Brownito gonna have another run at Squish. Gonna look to the outside again. We saw this once earlier and Squish pinched him off. Not gonna happen this time. Up on the curbing, into that right-hander, into the banking. And completes the pass. Brownito into 7th. Move Squish back to 8th. Brownito now going to set sights. 8 seconds in front of him to Snover. Only 7 laps left in this race. Realistically, probably not going to be able to get to Snover, but he's just got to get within 5 seconds with Snover having that 3-second penalty. So for the rest of these guys, Furby continuing to set the pace up front on these medium tires. I believe Furby's just going to try to mail it home here on these mediums. Going to be able to stretch it out. Shady back here in 2nd on the hards. Has been able to close the gap. The gap, when we last checked, was 5 seconds. We see it down to just over 3 seconds. We're going to pay attention to that. See if Shady's able to close it up here within these final few laps. Back here, Brembo continuing to put the pressure on Duck. They come through this faster section. Sweeping right-hand turn. And a 3-second penalty handed out to Brownito. So him getting around Squish was good while it lasted. Now with that 3-second penalty, he's actually going to be scored in the 8th position instead of 7th. So now he's got some work to do to try to gap Squish to hold on to that 7th spot. Meanwhile, Brembo with DRS and the draft. Going to get him closer to Duck. Brembo on soft tires, Duck on the mediums. Obviously, when these tires are new, softs would be the ones to prevail. But now that these guys have had some laps on these tires, they're really going to even them out. So as this run goes along, probably going to see those mediums prevail, as they're going to hold their grip a little bit better than the softs. Up front, Shady continuing to close the gap. From the last time we checked in, has already closed in an entire second. Just over 2 seconds now to the leader, Furby. He may be able to get there just in time, but it's one thing to catch somebody, another thing to get around him. You know Furby's going to put up a heck of a fight, as he always does. Probably one of the toughest guys in the field to get around. I'm excited to see that battle once it comes. Meanwhile, Snover back here only half a second behind Adler. Snover with that 3-second penalty, so if he does overtake Adler, not only does he have to overtake him, but he's going to have to gap him by 3 seconds. Do have a yellow here in Sector 1. I believe that's going to be Daddy. Yep, Daddy off track, the other Ferrari. So he's going to get it back going. Green flag. Oh, we've got green sectors all the way around. Meanwhile, Shady just a second and a half back from Furby. Ooh, back here, Snover really closing in on Adler. Applies that pressure, almost gets into the back of him. As they stay nose to tail. Oh, Brownito going around. It's going to cost him a lot of time. You see that gap back there to Dub Z is shrinking. So Brownito got to go from a spot well inside the top 10 to barely hanging on to that final point spot. Brembo. Oh, Brembo, as we hop on board, ends up getting a penalty. As you see him closing right in on Duck, trying to get that 8th spot. Meanwhile, up front, Shady has got it within a second. We're going to stay right here, folks. This is the battle for the lead and the battle for the win. Both of these guys looking to take advantage of, trying to take advantage of their races, trying to gain as many points on Dave as they can. Shady, the guy with the most to gain right now, only 14 points out of the points lead. He's licking his chops right now. He knows this is his opportunity. In this league where there's so much talent, so many guys with speed, you have an opportunity. Oh, and he's going to, takes a hard look going into one. I thought he was too far out to make something happen. He almost made me eat my words. I think right now with where these guys are, the way these tires have worn, I think these hard tires right now are starting to prevail. Those mediums are extremely worn out. Furby, I think, just hanging on for dear life. I think he's a sitting duck at this point. But with only 3 laps to go, you really gotta give it your all. You've got what you got. Time to get it. Shady going to use the DRS, close the gap even more coming into the chicane. Closes right up on Furby. Little wide through that right-hander. Come through this final one. He's got to get the draft. You see the rear wing open up as he opens up the DRS. Going to have a run at Furby going down. Going to look to the outside. Really sails it off in there, and they are side by side. Oh, and they touch just a little bit. So you did see Furby lose control of the car there. It's unfortunate to see, but Shady up to the first spot. It's very difficult to get through there side by side. I've seen some cars be able to do it, others not. But Furby going to be pushed back into P2, still in front of Dave. 20 seconds back to Dave, your points leader, running in 3rd. Dave on these softs. I believe he's another guy who's kind of struggling with old tires. Shady going to come out of the final corner here to take the white flag. This is going to be the final time around. Shady looking to add another win to the win column. These are very important points that he's looking to gain on Dave. Shady's not the guy we saw up front all race, but he was somebody who just stayed steady throughout the entirety of the race. No mistakes. Ran his race. And you saw that strategy of taking the hard tires earlier really pay off at the end. Lost some positions on that restart, but stuck with it as he comes through the chicane one final time. 4 seconds back, still to Furby. Into the second to final corner. Onto the banking, coming down the front straightaway. Crossing the line, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? That's a win here in the Netherlands for Shady. Furby going to bring it home in second. Not the result that he wanted, but still gaining points on Dave. I think that's the most important thing for him right now. As you see Dave going to bring it home in third. Oh, and Pogs DNFing here on the final lap. That's going to cost him. That's going to cost him some points. That's going to take somebody like Dubsy, who was sitting on the outside looking in. Going to move him into that final spot. So we see all these other cars coming across, finishing up. Dubsy coming out of the final corner. Oh, what are you doing, bud? And that's going to conclude it here in the Netherlands. Win's going to go to Shady. Let's go ahead and get these guys in here. We're going to do some post-race interviews. I think we're just waiting on Furby.
That is everything for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. For more TTM content, check out the video in the top right. And to join the TTM community, take a look at the link in the description. Until next time, see you on track.